Hey everybody, Archer here with a video reaction. I recently came across a video called How to Set Up Your Own Property Management LLC or Corporation. It was really a video to investors who use property managers like myself to help them manage their investment property. Great video, little bit disturbing or a little bit disappointing to hear how some of my peers in the industry are really treating investors when it comes to managing their properties. It's not entirely surprising. Frankly, the property management industry is very diverse. You have people like me that are focused on really treating each piece of real estate as its own independent business, looking at the profit and loss for that and trying to get the best return for that investor's or owner's standpoint. And then there's others who are really just a lot old school, really would prefer to mow lawns and manage a property in that way. I can tell you that either way that you go from a property management company, that's whatever suits you best and whatever's working for you best. I'm not here to say one way is better than the other. I will just tell you that we can learn from these investors who are putting out videos like this to really showcase where some of the pitfalls could be if you are managing your business in the way that he's talking about here. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll pull that video up here and then let's go ahead and give it a listen.
This video, I'm going to discuss using a property manager with your limited liability company. All right, you may be an investor like me who invests outside the state in which they live, and so it really doesn't make sense for you to try to manage the properties remotely because that would just become a nightmare. So what you'll end up doing oftentimes is hiring a local property manager to handle your real estate investments for you. Now, the issue often arises for people who do this. Where do I have that property manager send the rent checks every month or my payment every month after they've held out their fees?
So stop there. This should be the question of the investor, not the insinuation of a property manager. So let's get into it.
Well, I get the idea that it can be confusing. So you have to then look at your structure and determine how are you set up and where do you want that money to roll. There's two ways you could do this. Let's assume that we have our limited liability company right here. Here's my LLC. It owns this property here. And let's say I have a few LLCs set up. Here's another property over here. Let's say these were Florida properties. And if you watch some of my other videos, you'll know that oftentimes I'll tell you if you're using a state-specific LLC, like these are in Florida, Florida offers no charging order protections. Watch those other videos on charging order protections. If you don't know what that is, it's very important that you understand that concept. Then you'll have these LLCs owned down here by what is referred to as a holding LLC. And that's just a term that I put on it, but this LLC is typically going to be in Wyoming. And then you're going to own that Wyoming limited liability company. So let's assume this is your structure and you have this out-of-state property management company over here that's managing all of your real estate for you. So they're managing these properties. So where are they going to send the rents? Well, ideally what you're going to want to do is have them send the rents to the respective LLCs.
That's exactly what the property manager should be doing. I'm not sure really who they're used to dealing with, but sending the rents to anything other than the two entities that are over those two locations, I don't understand that.
So property number one, it's going to send the rent check to here. Property number two, it'll send the rent check to here. This is ideally the way it should roll.
Did you hear that pain in his voice, that sigh that went, this is ideally how it should go. He's absolutely right. This is exactly how it should go.
But oftentimes it's not how it's going to happen. Because this property management company over here, if you have multiple properties, they want to keep it as simple as possible. And if you're telling them they need to have different entities they're sending the rent checks to, that means different EINs they have to account to for these payments, it complicates their business for them.
My feedback on that is if you don't have the ability to get multiple EINs that are sent, that you're sending rent checks or owner draws to each EIN specific bank account, even if it's owned under the same portfolio, you're doing it wrong. We really need to be doing better than this if this is a problem. This is one of those things where you can see the look on his face. And they have a thought out organizational structure of their investment companies. They have multiple LLCs for them to have to deal with additional issues because we as property managers can't send out 2 checks to one to each location versus making them go to the single LLC. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So they're going to ask you for one entity. They may even try to send the money to you directly. You don't want the money coming to you directly.
Absolutely.
You want it to go to one of your boxes. So this then leaves us with 2 choices. Okay.
I'll give you the third choice. He's going to give you 2. I'll give you the third.
What choice number 1 is you can have the money sent directly down here to your Wyoming holding LLC. So this is another reason why I like this holding structure here, having this LLC, because it makes the process of working with out-of-state property managers a little simpler. So you have the checks collected down, the money collected down here. Now, if you watch my other videos, I've told you how important it is to run money through the respective LLCs. Keep in mind, if you have to go this route because of your property manager, then you need to have really good books and records here, all right?
So if you need to go that route because your property manager refuses to do what his client is asking, which is totally reasonable. There are plenty of times when the property manager is going to tell the client, the investor, the owner, that, look, that's not how I do business. I'm not going to do it that way. It's most of the time there's a regulatory body involved in that, and there's decisions around that. But in this case, there's absolutely no reason that the property manager cannot satisfy the investor's needs and send a check to both those locations.
Right? You need to make sure that you're properly accounting for each LLC as if it received the money. So this is where you need to have a Superman CPA or bookkeeper that's in there, and they're doing a really great job of keeping things clean.
So we push our lack of ability to send out 2 checks to them and make them jump through a bunch of hoops and pay extra time for a CPA to do a more thorough job, Superman CPA, as he said. That's crazy. Just not doing our job right.
Because if anything happened here, and this one came under attack, a claim that a creditor could make or the attorney might make is that, hey, this is all one common enterprise. You never collected any rents. The rents went to the blue box, never went to the brown box. Therefore, we're just going to treat it all as one, as if the blue box owned the properties themselves. Now, that's an argument. It's not a winning argument.
But what if they did win? What if you were in that situation? You had 2 different properties, 2 different LLCs, a holding LLC over it. You have a property manager who says, I'm not going to send it to these 2 different LLCs because it's too hard, it's too difficult, blah, blah, blah. And you say, okay, just send it to me or send it to this other LLC. And then you did get a claim, you did get a lawsuit on one of your properties. You didn't do your diligence on the banking side. And that lawyer did argue that you did not keep these things separate. They're basically all the same thing. And then you had 2 properties impacted because you had a property manager that didn't want to work with you the way they should, and then you weren't able to do your due diligence on your side. So shared responsibility, absolutely. Now, property manager does not have to send the money to the different organizations, but you don't have to use them as a property manager.
But it is an argument. So your counter to that argument is, well, the property manager, they wouldn't pay the box. They wanted only one entity that they would pay, so we had it paid down here, and we just separately accounted for the income. There isn't a legal requirement that you actually have to run the money through the brown box. But you do get into that commingling issue. That's a potential argument they could raise. So option number 1, have it run to the blue box. Okay, so that's how you'd work with an out-of-state property manager. Option number 2, maybe you have your own corporation that you've set up. Maybe you flip property. Let's say you live in Texas, so you have this Texas corporation set up because it's flipping, it's engaged in wholesale, something of that nature. Well, another thing it could do is manage your LLC. So, wow, if we've got this company set up where I have a management agreement between these limited liability companies, and all this is a piece of paper, 4-page agreement that you put together with your LLCs, then what you could ask this out-of-state property management company to do is rather than sending the money here, have it sent up to your corp. Now your corporation will collect those proceeds, all right, on behalf of these boxes. So think of it like a subcontractor, all right? This is what this company is to your corporation. Your corporation is really the manager, but it subcontracts out the management in Florida because it's not registered to do business there, so it's subcontracting that money out. And so then it collects the money back here, then all the money comes in here. Then what it could do is separately account, have really good Superman books up here, and then distribute the money directly to the blue box. Or if you have bank accounts set up here, then I would run the money directly through these brown boxes before it goes down to the blue box like that. So when you're using a property management company to manage your real estate and you have boxes, there are some complications that are going to come up. I mean, it's just part of doing the business. I mean, I've seen a lot of people just say, oh, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to put all my properties into one LLC because it's going to make it easier for the property management company. Don't let the property management company dictate to you how you're going to run your structure.
So that's where I'd like to leave this at. Really, if you have an investor that has multiple properties, they have multiple LLCs over each of those properties, that's going to flow up to something, whether that's another corporation or in this case, the holding LLC. It shouldn't matter to you if you send it one check or two checks. If there's additional cost there, then that's something that the investor should be able to understand. But at the end of the day, if you're an investor and your property manager refuses to help you out in this manner, this is so easy, so simple, and I can't even believe it's a video that's had thousands of views on the internet, because obviously it's a problem, especially you read the comments. Then you reach out to me. I will help you out by looking for a reputable property management company in your area. If it's not me, because I'm only in one state, then I'll help point you to those that are in my network and that share the same brand as I. So you can continue to struggle through, or reach out to me, let me know. But honestly, this is crazy. We really shouldn't be at this point where we are forcing investors to jump through hoops, through crazy CPA tactics to satisfy their needs because we refuse to send money to different LLCs. Pretty straightforward stuff. A little bit, really good information. It's two sides of it. There's going to be certain things where we're going to be able to accommodate our investors, and there's other things we're not going to be. In this one, I'd be curious to hear why, as a property manager, you wouldn't be willing to do this, send money to each of the brown boxes in this case. And then as an investor, why is it that, what kind of roadblocks are you running into finding property managers that are willing to work with you on this level? Seems pretty straightforward to me. That's just how I run my business. But thanks for your time today. Hopefully there was some value here and we learned something on both sides of the fence. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you later. And this is Archer out.